dichotomal topics about Trinidad and Tobago?
I can't stick there.
Because it's an interesting topic, but is the timeline title, because it's like a timeline,
yes.
Is that something for a very specific reason?
Yes, the story starts on January 1st, and it ends on the 31st of March. So it ends with the Prime Minister being in power, and again, the title violence, that's coming back to that point a little bit, is to capture this is the reality that we live in, and sadly, it's not like in the 1970s or the the 1960s or so. This is current, and this is how it appeals to me. Also, the violence initially too was a kind of marketing ploy, so to say.
Yes, because that's what's selling, and that's what's
real. But I think more is about this is what the reality of Trinidad and Tobago is right now.
How does your family feel about you writing a book like this? Because, when you're an author, you either have the support of your friends and your family 100%, or they're also concerned that you're stepping out on a limb and you're taking a chance financially, reputation-wise. We live on an island, so you might be forever known as the fellow who wrote that book, or the fellow who attacked the country this way.
Yes.
You could become the local Salman Rushdie, to say the least. How does your family feel about a book like this, and how does it affect their lives?
My dad helped me edit the book. How they feel about it, I think they're happy about it. There's nothing that has happened so far. Yeah. There's nothing that has happened so far, to prove otherwise, or to make it otherwise.
Now, you use a lot of ethnic groups. There's a lot of ethnicity attached to this book. There are also a lot of what one would assume are ethnic stereotypes, where we hear about Mr. Barrett, who was married to an East Indian woman, and because she was so pliant and so submissive, it actually frustrated him, and then he was violent towards her. And then along comes his Venezuelan girlfriend, who is spicy and hot and all of that, and one of the descriptions you have of her is she was his woman, she was his partner, she was his friend, and she was his whore when he needed her to be. Do you think that, given the current political and economic climate, that to use such raw nerve stereotypes, because unfortunately stereotypes touch on a little bit of truth and just expand on them in a ridiculous manner most of the time, do you think that will affect the psyche of the people reading the book and take away from it a lot more than this is what the country is going through, but this is what he said about Arabs in the country, about Chinese people in the country, about Africans in the country? And why did you use, and now I'm asking a lot of questions,
no, go ahead.
Why did you use such vivid ethnic stereotypes to propel the book forward?
Okay. If we talk about bombings that's happening in Mumbai, we might be tempted to say Pakistan has something to do with it.
Right.
All right. If we talk about something that Russia might be involved in and trying to provoke the United States, some might try to provoke them, Russia's name might come up. All right. And the same thing applies here. And, I want to make a point too, is that a lot of times, or the only time race becomes an issue in this country, voting time, the electorate. All right. What do we have happening here is people hence the forward, saying that this is not an attack on anybody. It's just how I look at it. And I could see, I follow where you're going with it, because I could see from people reading it and saying, how can you make statements and assume that the East Indian woman might be submissive, or the Venezuelan is coming down here and she might be operating as a prostitute, and that is the harsh reality for a lot of people. All right, and my take on that is, if it's not in print, we talk about it behind closed doors.
Yes.
And, so
you're just right.
I have no problem putting it into print. No problem, and it can't be stereotypical on my behalf, because thank God I mix it everything. So
you can relate to almost everyone.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bull and Crapo seem to be initially very interesting in that they are like the local thugs, local gangland thugs who have the possibility of advancing forward, but then they're taken out of the picture so early because of the threat they could possibly pose. And then once they're removed, the fight now begins to who takes over their territory. Did you use animal names for a particular reason, or you just use nicknames? Because I find a lot of the names that you use for the people, they're a lot more telling than just being their names.
No, actually, animal names were convenient because a lot of times you just wanted to bring a character.
Yeah.
There's a crap one character.
Yeah, one crap.
Yeah, and a lot of times that was you're just looking for a name at a particular point in time. A lot of times I even had names that my dad was like, there's somebody with that name. Change it.
And it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Let's take a short break, but when we come back, we'll continue speaking with Mr. Batiste, Lyndon Batiste. It's 90 Days of Violence. It's the News Extra.